Lesson 45, finding the line of best fit. So regression is a process of identifying a relationship between variables. When there is a relationship, then there's said to be a correlation. So if you look at data values on a, say, a scatter plot, if you have these two variables and the scattered data points are kind of going in an upward direction from left to right, then we could say there is a positive correlation. If you graph your data points and they're kind of headed downhill from left to right, then that would be considered a negative correlation. And then if you have a scatter plot and there's really no, this would be considered no correlation. When there is a correlation, we can find what's called a line of best fit. That just means the equation of the line that would show the best correlation. In other words, it goes right through the middle as best as you can get through those points. And I will teach you how to do that on the graphing calculator, so you don't have to do it without. It may go through some of the points. It may not go through any of the points. Just depends on where the middle line is. There is what's called the correlation coefficient, and that just is a number that shows how strong the correlation is and the direction of the correlation. So the correlation coefficient and we call that R, shows how strong and in what direction the correlation is. So the coefficient R can range from -1 to 1. So negative values have a negative correlation, and positive values would have a positive correlation. So if your correlation coefficient is negative, it'll look like this. It'll have a negative slope. If the correlation coefficient is positive, it will have a positive slope. The further R is away from 0, the closer the points will be to a straight line. So if the correlation coefficient is 99/100ths, then your data value will be really close to a straight line. If it's equal to 1, it is a straight line, or -1. If the correlation coefficient is like 2/10ths, then it's going to be fairly scattered, but it's going to have just a gentle, well, it'll have a positive correlation, but it'll be kind of fuzzy. Here's some examples in your book. So if you look on page 326 at the bottom, oh, and if there's a zero correlation, if there's no correlation, the correlation coefficient will be equal to 0. So they show you some data, graphs, and what the correlation coefficient is. So you can see the first one is negative 93 hundredths. So they're kind of close together, and they're going with a negative slope. If you look at the one right below it, the 21 hundredths, they are kind of going in an upward slope, but they're kind of more scattered because it's closer to 0. So it's not as close to a straight line. We can find the correlation coefficient by using the graphing calculator. We can find the line of best fit. So we're going to practice that. Next, we're going to go through lab 8. So this is the end of this video.